What up, it's your boy T-Bear here. Following video by the watch is my kill count, trying to look away reaction to Brightburn, but I did the explicit version so I can give y'all a genuine kill count and genuine chance I might look away. Now, I will be censoring some parts that are on the explicit version that's not on the actual version he has on the channel. One, to save myself and Debbie face, because you should be stupid about the community strikes and all that. And two, the explicit version is exclusively on Dead Meat's Patreon, and I don't want to be stealing money from him by showing y'all free shit for free. So if you do want to see the explicit version of that video itself, sign up for Patreon. Sign up for Dead Meat's Patreon for just to watch the explicit version of videos. It's only $1 a month, so can't beat that. So anyway, hope y'all enjoy my kill card trying to not to look away reaction to Brightburn. Enjoy. What up, it's your boy T-Bear here in the reaction. So, it's been a minute, trying to get back on track with these. So, it's time for a kill count. So, this kill count in the list is the second, well, actually, truthfully, the third of the videos y'all wanted me in the third batch. And this is the third highest one, which is Brightburn. Now, so in order to make this kill count very official with the trying to look away, I'm going to react to the explicit version of this that I've signed up for James A. Denise. Now, I will not put the link for the explicit version on there, because this is for people who follow his Patreon. And it's only $1 that follows Patreon to get to a month to see the explicit version of certain videos, though. But I will react to it though, so I will so I give you a legit kill count reaction. But if it's too gory, in my opinion, I will censor out myself some of the gore to save my ass as well as Dead Meat as well too. So without further ado, since I'm like 10 days away from finally getting my first community strike expunged. So anyway, without further ado, here is Brightburn kill count from Dead Meat, the explicit version. So without further ado, let's check it out. And to repeat, this is a try not to look away.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Denise, and today we're looking at Brightburn, released in 2019. Brightburn is the first superhero horror movie I've covered on the Kill Count, but it's an ever-expanding subgenre, which only makes sense given Marvel's complete domination of the box office this past decade. In fact, Brightburn was produced by James Gunn, the guardian of the Guardians of the Galaxy films, and who also wrote and produced The Belko Experiment. Although James only produced the movie, it was written by some young guns, his brother Brian and cousin Mark. Their script essentially...
And hold up. Yeah, I do remember Belko was one of the movies that made me lose a try to look away one, so y'all might finally get y'all wish with this one, who knows.
Asks, hey, what would happen if Superman was kind of a dick? Or more specifically, what would happen if Superman had been sent to Earth as an alien sleeper agent, only to be activated as a 12-year-old and told to take over the world? Brightburn is an okay movie, I guess. The premise is pretty interesting, and I love the way it's shot by director David Yarovesky. But the plotting feels uneven to me, and the character decisions seem kinda stupid sometimes. It doesn't help that we barely get a good sense of the characters before the plot kicks into action, which means Brandon Breyer, the central anti-superhero, becomes way too unlikable way too quickly for this story to feel tragic at all. It's a bit of wasted potential, especially since Elizabeth Banks and David Denman do such a great job playing Brandon's conflicted parents. But if you're just here to see a cool and gory horror take on your standard superhero origin story, well, you're in luck, Chuck, because Brightburn is hella slick and it's got some surprisingly graphic deaths. I know that's what some of you are here for, so let's avoid another 8-minute intro and get straight to the kills. The movie begins
go.
in Brightburn, Kansas, just down the road there at the Breyer farm. Inside their home, Tori and Kyle Breyer are trying to make a baby, and not by ringing up the stork, if you catch my meaning. Things haven't been working out for them with their trips on the Spermy Expressway, but it looks like they're about to be in luck tonight. Because something just landed in their backyard. And Freddy, you want to tell them what it is?
It's a boy!
After some home movies that show baby Stardust there growing up,
Baby
we jump to 10
Stardust.
years later with the heaven-sent diaper dirtier, now a 12-year-old boy named Brandon, played by Jackson A. Dunn. He's still quite the stinker, hiding from his mom Tori and jumping out at her like a little monster. Rah, rah, rah. At school, he's a smart little monster with encyclopedic answers for his science teacher's questions. That earns him derision from some of his classmates, but encouragement from others.
Don't worry. Smart guys end up ruling the planet.
Subjugation, you say? One night, the barn on the Breyer farm starts glowing up more than Matthew Lewis, which causes lights to flicker and Brandon to experience scary dream voices.
Got him.
Yeah, that'll give you nightmare eyes for show. Brandon is compelled to fall out of his second-story window, which Tori hears from downstairs. One blurry flash in front of the camera later, Tori's checking out the barn, where she finds her creepy little space baby throwing himself against a chained-up trap door and growling passwords that fail to open it. Maybe you left caps lock on, little buddy. So yeah, Brandon is apparently activated already, which is kind of a shame. We barely know who he is or what was normal for him before he intercepted an alien transmission. We do see a bit of him as a normal kid the next day, while Kyle talks about how scared he was when they first adopted him, but I could have used a few more scenes establishing a baseline behavior for the kid. While his dad is out, Brandon sets a new PR in Mower's
Oh,
office.
shit.
Someone want to test that kid out for juicing? Damn! Don't look now, upturned mower. But thanks to the return of those alien whisper voices, you about to get these hands. Or at least one hand, which is plenty enough to stop the blade on its own. Looks like this adolescent boy is gonna have to be extra careful to avoid death grip syndrome. Brandon has a jump cut filled birthday celebration at a local diner, where he and his parents are joined by Tori's sister Marilee and her husband Noah, who's played by Matt Jones of Breaking Bad fame, and who, for a while, was also part of an amazing musical improv show in LA called Opening Night. Noah gives Brandon a rifle, but his father immediately confiscates it, and we're left to assume that Brandon's indignant reaction is very out of place for him.
Give it to me.
I'm sorry, what'd you just say to me?
I said, give it to me.
But no one seems to notice the electrical flickers going on there, not even as they correspond with Brandon's emotions or arm movements, so Tori and Kyle just take Brandon home embarrassed. They express concern about their son,
Worry about him. And getting older, changing.
but not once during this entire conversation do they ever acknowledge that they found him in a frickin' crater. The whole time they're talking about him, it's like they don't even know that's a thing. It's insane. The next morning, before they head out for a family camping trip, they face a couple of strange hangups. First, Brandon's all of a sudden got an appetite for silverware. Second, they find his stash of smut, which is mostly PG-13 stuff, until they get to pictures of intestines and shit. Brandon, that'll get age restricted. The pictures prompt Kyle to give Brandon the sex talk, which goes just as awkwardly as that conversation usually does.
He was okay to touch it or play with it.
With what?
With your penis.
Okay, maybe this one's a little extra awkward. That night, Brandon takes it upon himself to act on his urges, disappear from the campsite, and pay a visit to Caitlin, that nice girl from school. I gotta admit, his abilities are a little bit confusing to me here. Caitlin wakes up to find her laptop open and playing music, and after closing it, confused, and walking back towards her bed, the laptop is suddenly reopened and playing music again. So is Brandon just like super ultra fast and opening her laptop at invisible speeds? Or is he telekinetic? I don't know, but he is hiding behind your curtains, little girl, so watch out! Or wait a minute, is he? Well, he's not anymore, but Caitlin did get a good look at who was back there.
Brandon Breyer.
Good thing BB's got a watertight alibi. He was just out there peeing in the woods. No big, Mom. Brandon's behavior grows more and more aberrant. Like, sure, there's nothing that weird about doodling superhero costumes or logos with your initials, but when you start standing in front of the chicken coop and staring at the poultry all night, that's a good sign of being cockadoodle cray-cray. That point is proven when Kyle wakes up to find all the family's egg layers dead and dismembered. Tori dismisses her husband and says the chicken killer was a wolf, despite Kyle's solid line of reasoning.
Babe, a wolf can't do this. It can't rip a freaking door off and break a lock.
And this is the first of many scenes where I'm like, what the fuck, Tori? Don't ignore the facts here. During the thrust exercise at school, Caitlin causes Brandon to fall because she thinks he's a pervert, and that gets him mighty mad. So when she's forced to help him up, Brandon breaks her hand.
He said he's sorry.
What the fuck, Tori? Sorry's not gonna fuse those splintered bones back together. Brandon gets suspended from school, but to add insult to that sentencing, Caitlin's mother, Erica, makes sure to insult his adopted status.
Do you even know who his real mother is?
Brandon Breyer will remember that. Tori and Kyle have another conversation of concern, only this time they finally acknowledge Brandon's exogenesis when Tori tells Kyle she found him sleepwalking in the barn.
Did he find it?
But he was tugging at the trapdoor.
Then Kyle starts freaking out and mentions that Brandon's never bled once in his entire life, a fact that probably should have been mentioned before we were already through a third of this movie. Later that night, Tori does some celestial research and Brandon starts hearing voices again.
You should go.
Props to the sound design for this movie, by the way. It's some of the best I've heard in a while. Brandon is drawn to a red glow in the barn and begins to repeat an alien voice growling at him. When Tori finds Brandon, he's floating midair above the open trap door. When he falls, he cuts his hand on an object down there, and that makes him bleed for the first time in his life. That moment would probably feel more important if we hadn't just learned about the bleeding thing like 2 minutes ago. The kryptonite to Brandon's high armor class is the meteorite from the beginning, and the discovery of that space crib leads to a conversation about where he came from. Answer, that rock right there. Tori tells Brandon that she thinks of him as a gift straight from the universe, but he gets all alien angry about having been lied to his whole life, so he storms away from her and starts to break stuff. It's just one of those days, you know, when you don't want to wake up. He leaves the house, verbally repeating the alien message he just learned from that space rock until he's able to decipher its meaning.
Take the world. Take the world.
And 1 and 2 and laser eyes and good, grand, keep it bright. Before going to take the world, Brandon stops by Caitlin's room again and delivers the scariest manifesto a young girl could ever hear.
I'm very special. You're one of the only people in the world that knows how special I am. But someday, they will all know.
Caitlin says that her mom told her not to talk to him, but Brandon tells her he's got a plan for that. Don't worry, Caitlin, he's gone now. And you know what? We can just drop your character entirely, too. Yeah, we won't be needing you for the rest of the movie. Thanks. Instead, Brandon moves on to her mother, Erica, who's currently closing up shop at the local diner. Things get spooky in a hurry, with weird symbols appearing on the windows and the ceiling lights flickering overhead. Oh, wait, did I say flickering? Because I meant bursting open. Oh, she got it in her eye. Man, it's deep in there, too. In an excruciatingly gross scene, Erica picks the glass shard out of her eye. And that shard is way longer than the man. Fuck! It's totally gross. The experience leaves her seeing half red, which is a pretty cool effect. And with her limited vision, she has a hard time seeing the costumed individual appearing in various places all around her. She runs into the freezer and locks herself inside, but Brandon just huffs and puffs and lasers the door down. Erica gets one final look at her tormentor before Brandon kills her with a jump scare. Yeah, that's the way this movie's effects look. They're fine, I guess. The next morning, Brandon comes downstairs and tells his parents that everything's perfectly all right now. He's fine. He's all fine here now. Thank you. How are you? Although his suspension is over now, Brandon still has to see his school's counselor, who just so happens to be his Aunt Marilee. Wow, talk about a rigged-ass system of justice. Brandon alarms Marilee with his talk of being superior to everyone else and his total lack of remorse for what he did.
Sometimes when bad things happen to people, it's for a good reason.
That's a yikes from Marilee, who tells Brandon that she's gonna have to tell his parents and the sheriff about his troubling behavior. Not good, Brandon, especially since the sheriff's already investigating Erica's disappearance from the diner. Aw, no, and he's getting sexy with the windows and finding those BBs everywhere? Marilee gets a house visit from Brandon that night, who tells her that she's not allowed to speak to the sheriff about what he said in school.
It's just not good for anyone.
Marilee is like, dude, you're making it worse. Get the fuck off my porch, and sends him away. But then, very stupidly, and in my opinion, unrealistically, she does not call her sister to tell her that Brandon was at her house. Instead, she just decides to go to bed, never noticing that Brandon's standing back there looking like a stranger. Kyle laments to his buddies that his son might actually be a monster, before Noah takes off and heads back home. When he comes through the front door, the noise scares Brandon out of the hallway and into the ceiling corner of Badger's bathroom. But his invisispeed isn't quite fast enough to keep Noah from catching a glimpse of him as he de-Batmans.
Oh, shit!
Noah finds Brandon in his closet, and Matt Jones reminds us all how effortlessly funny he is.
What the fuck are you doing in my closet wearing this creepy mask?
It's not creepy.
He tries to haul Brandon outside so he can take him back home to his parents, but Brandon would much rather put his mask back on and play a game of glowy eyes. Oh, Uncle Noah, you lose. Brandon disappears, and Noah gets into his car and drives off. To where? I don't know. He could have just gone back inside his house where his sleeping wife was and locked the doors. But instead, he decides to go for a joyride. Brandon brings his ride a little less quickly. The impact causes his car to stall out in the road. After some scary floaty stuff and a bunch of negatives from Noah,
No!
his vehicle begins to rise from the road, ass end up. It is absolutely terrifying to see from Noah's perspective, and you really feel the power of the impact when the vehicle is dropped and hits the ground. Noah feels it too. But the ground doesn't kill Noah right away, but it does break his jaw right off. Oh my god, it's so gross! It is a nasty marriage of sight and sound as Noah slowly gurgles to death. And he finally dies after Brandon stares him down for a while impassively. How are you about to not react to that? Bad enough for Noah. Brandon then uses his blood to draw his shitty little edgelord logo on the ground. Brandon comes home to his very worried parents, and it doesn't calm them down at all when they see that he's missing a shirt. What's up with that, Brand?
I was playing soccer.
Oh, okay. He was just on Team Skins. It's cool. Having plopped out some bullshit straight from his mouth, Brandon goes up to his room, leaving his parents so flustered they talk openly about his backstory.
Maybe we need to talk to somebody. He needs a special.
What? And say what to him? Hello, this is our son. We found him in a fucking spaceship in the woods.
Kyle says that this is all their fault, that they should have done something a long time ago, and then goes to bed angry. You should never do that, my man, because that's a good way to have freaky dicky nightmares. Like the one where your bedroom's in a forest, or the one where your wife adopts a space baby. Yeah, that one's always messy. Some evil glowy baby eyes wake Kyle up, where he's greeted with a phone call from Marilee at the hospital, who tells the Bryars that Noah's dead. When she mentions that Brandon was at her house shortly before it happened, Tori and Kyle grow concerned, and over an off-brand box of Pumbaa O's the next morning, they confront him. Brandon is nonchalant when they tell him his uncle is dead, which causes Kyle to pretty much openly accuse him of foul play.
That is bullshit. He is fucking lying.
Brandon goes to peace out, and when Kyle tries to stop him, Brandon shows his dad, who's the new Superman of the house, and throws him backwards through a wall. While Brandon's showering off his rage, Kyle jump cut searches his room and finds a shirt tucked behind a dresser, hidden because it's covered in blood. Better hide that discovery from your little Anthony Fremont there, Kyle. He shows Tori the shirt, but again, she won't listen to a word of it.
How could Brandon have killed Noah and then made it look like a car
Hey, that's what
accident?
kind of weird shit he could do.
What the fuck, Tori? Your son's a goddamn alien. Start putting the pieces together here. Instead, she leaves Kyle in a huff and lets the movie get back to its half-baked cop plot where the perfunctory sheriff finally notices that Brandon's symbol was on both the diner windows and the ground by Noah's accident. Kyle has a patriarchal cry as he takes a walk down memory lane to a time when Brandon was younger and much less murdery. In bed that night, he comforts Tori and tells her that he's gonna take Brandon hunting over the weekend to show that he still loves him. Aw, that's nice. After they leave the next day, the sheriff arrives at the Breyer house to ask Tori if she recognizes the symbol he keeps finding everywhere.
Doesn't that look like a BB, maybe? As in Brandon Breyer?
Doesn't look like anything to me, Sheriff. She sends him away, but is worried enough to look through Brandon's stuff, where she finally comes face to face with reality. Yeah, Tori, your kid sucks, and you've been enabling the little bastard this whole time. He's become a little bastard with big ambitions, too. All because you just couldn't fathom the idea of Brandon being a monster. But Kyle's been fathoming that idea for quite some time now, so he decides to take things into his own hands during the hunting trip. He sets his son up for a look at the rabbits moment, but even though he lands a headshot, it doesn't even begin to faze the kid. Oh shit, you fucked up, Kyle. You have fucked up now. Kyle spams R, but before the reload action is complete, Brandon disappears, only to reappear seconds later in his little homemade costume. He plays a round of Quidditch near his dad and knocks him to the ground, then kills his papa dearest by friggin' laser beaming him through the face. We had to get a laser beam kill in here at some point, and I couldn't have asked for a better one than this. Solid shit here. Tori tries to call her husband, but it's too late. Kyle is gone forever, and Brandon's already home again. He terrifies Tori by shaking the house and doing all the stuff you probably saw in the trailer, like flying in and out through the walls a couple of times. Yeah, you get a good look at that floating mistake out there, Tori. She calls 911, which brings the sheriff and a deputy to her house. But as she comes outside to get their help, the sheriff is air tackled, leaving very little behind for anyone to see. Damn, that was a sudden death. The deputy sends Tori upstairs to hide under the bed, then is killed herself after Brandon appears behind her and slams her all to kingdom come with the background of this nifty shot. To show his work when he's finished, he tosses her corpse aside. Tori watches in horror as the deputy
she got jerked up.
Keeps herself quiet in the face of her son's floating feet and eventually sneaks away from him by hanging out the upstairs window. When she falls, she cuts herself, which reminds her of Brandon's similar injury in the barn a few days ago. And realizing that his space crib comet may be the secret to defeating him, she runs off towards the barn. Real talk though, I don't know how she gets there when Brandon's already floating in the air and has been shown to be invisibly fast. But get there she does, and after seeing Erica's corpse and a bunch of BBs on the wall, she breaks off a convenient shard of spaceship with which to stab her son. She crawls out of the barn basement and calls out Brandon's name, then convinces the creepy little Superboy to calm down for a goddamn second and listen to his mother.
I still believe you were a blessing that fell to this earth.
Her words of matriarchal love seem to assuage the young lad, who tells his mom that he wants to be a good boy, he promises. But he can't do that if he's got a shard of metal in his back, so knock it the fuck off, Mom, you're not helping, God! Tori tries to apologize, but it's too late. Brandon cries out and flies up, up, and away, taking his mom high into the night sky to show her a whole new world. Sorry, to kill her, because that's what he does. It's completely
Oh shit!
At least she'll have plenty of time during freefall to think about how she shouldn't have tried adopting an alien space.
Damn.
Oh shit, y'all. The movie's almost over and the body count isn't enormous. I'm so sorry, all you big number lovers. This must be so difficult for you. Here, how about we add an entire goddamn plane to the count? Because Brandon sees one in the sky and apparently just blows it up, since its wreckage is seen the next morning. Oh hey, and listen to these nice reporters here. They're doing my counting job for me.
No survivors among the 268 passengers on board.
Way to hook me up, Final Destination style. And just like in Final Destination, I know that the number they say is of the plane's passengers, but I think in these casualty reports that would include the crew, right? Like the crew members were still passengers on the plane in one sense of the word, you know? I don't know. All I do know is that Brandon Breyer is a bad guy, because after a last-minute title card, that dope-ass Billie Eilish song plays over credits to confirm it. We see some more news reports, and yes, one of them shows a building collapse, but I can't count kills there because it's literally impossible. Besides, maybe the building was somehow evacuated beforehand? You don't know, okay? The movie ends with Michael Rooker as a YouTube conspiracy theorist ranting about other mythical figures in this universe, like the Crimson Bolt from Super, the 2010 movie made by producer James Gunn. Thanks to Brandon Breyer, how many people's life forces are no longer burning bright? Let's find out and... Wait, what? Get...
His eyes gonna turn red, son.
The... numbers. Get to the numbers. By my count, 274 people died in Brightburn. Other than the 268 plane victims, we had an even ratio of 3 guy and 3 girl victims. So I bet you can barely even see them in that pie chart, huh? With a runtime of 91 minutes,
who's
that left us with a kill on average about 20 seconds. But, I mean, you know, I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to Uncle Noah. The shot from inside the car as it drops straight towards the ground is terrifying. And obviously, the guy's jaw falling off was sick nasty. Seriously, did not expect to see that level of gore in this movie. Dull machete for lamest kill will go to Erica, who got super jump scared to death. And that's it. Brightburn came out in 2019, and although it kinda sets up for a sequel with that Michael Rooker bit at the end, I'm not sure if we'll ever see one thanks to a middling box office performance. Until next time, I'm James A. Janice. This has been The Kill Count. Thanks a lot for watching The Kill Count. I want to thank some...
Yeah, the movie was but Kill Count was so too, though. The one that got to go with Machete was like, But other than that, yeah, they ain't know the eye part, who... But other than that, made through this one. So that's another one down. So what do I have left now? I got it up. So I have left is the Look-See. Well, I have the Look-See series season 1 and 2, and the last of it, which is the Dentist. And then there's others that I got requested as well too, and some I have like the Mandy, which I found there's a explicit one of that as well too, as well as Evil Dead remake, which I will react to the graphic version of that as well too. And I might do this just because that's what we're dealing with right now soon, which is Confronting. I might do it today. And there's some kill counts I also have that's outside of Dead Meat. One is the remake of Suspiria, which I did reaction to, and a live version of a well-known anime. I'm gonna keep that on the hush right there. So other than that, if you like my reaction, like, share, subscribe my YouTube channel. And froze up a little bit. Anyway, still, as I say, like my reaction, like, share, subscribe my YouTube channel. The quarantine I might end up doing before I do the Look-See or after Look-See. It will be one of the in-betweens of the during my third run. And then after I get finished with that, I'm very reluctant to do it, but y'all been wanting me to do the Saw series. I might just do it just for y'all. So, because chances are I might lose that shit. So anyway, it's your boy T-Bear signing off. One love.